Richard, it's a pleasure to meet you. You have many years' experience in IP in the US. Can you tell us about the impact COVID-19 is currently having on the IP so far?
You know, it's surprising. You talk to a lot of people these days. It, there's two types of people. There's those that have no work because of COVID, and then a lot of the people in the IP community have more work than they know what to do with. What I've found is the patent office, the patent examiners are working at home. They don't have as many meetings with their supervisors, not as much training, and they are just flying through office actions, and uh, it's keeping me very, very busy in my practice, trying to respond to everything.
So, as the president of New England Intellectual Property, your work primarily focuses on assisting companies with IP matters. How is that affecting you dealing with startups, and how is that affecting those IP stakeholders?
They still have the needs to get their patents. My clients have been asking me to file patents. Um, and so, I've had a very steady workflow for the last 5 or 6 months, and so much so that I just don't have any free time to enjoy life. I've been working night and day to meet the needs of my clients and the workflow that's coming back from the patent office.
Wow. So you've actually seen an increase in work based on the
Yes,
situation?
yes.
So now we're already like 6 months into this pandemic. Have you seen it change from the beginning till now? Like, was there initially maybe a pause for a couple of months and now things started flowing, or was it steady the whole time or increasing the whole time?
I've found it steady or increasing the whole time. The patent community, from patent examiners to attorneys, we're all used to working. It's all office work, it's all phone work. There's very little in-person work, so it didn't matter. We just took our laptops and moved home or moved, to an office. For appeals that I've been working on, the Patent Trial and Appeals Board has just worked virtually. They said you can't come down to Washington, but we'll do all our meetings versus phone calls. And I've gone through PTAB hearings on the phone a couple of months back, and so nobody slowed down. Federal Circuit has continued uh, operating. And I've seen it with some of the Massachusetts courts and things outside of intellectual property where they've stopped working. But the intellectual property world never seemed to hit a hiccup. They may have lost a day or two with IT issues moving from an office to individual homes, but beyond that, everything just kept right on rolling.
Working with many single inventors, have you seen that that there may be more work coming out of that, more patents because some of them have lost their jobs and now they're thinking, hey, spending more time on innovation?
I can think of one of my customers I did a patent application for. That was exactly the situation. He was laid off and or sent home without work. But I don't know the exact situation, but he had the time to continue with a couple of inventions that he had and said, hey, can you draft these up and get them on file? But most of my clients have just kept right on working. Small businesses couldn't afford to take the time off, and if they could find any way to continue functioning, they did.
And have you seen a change as an assessor dealing with values? Have you seen a change in IP values in the marketplace?
That's hard to assess, because I really haven't seen that many transactions. And that's not a function of COVID. This is more like the last 4 or 5 years, the transaction rate's gone down. Your bigger issues in transactions and values are the AIA and Alice decision by the Supreme Court, and some of the Federal Circuit decisions have had much more impact on patent valuations. But I just don't see enough deals to get a good sense of whether deals have gone up or down. I have seen some merger and acquisition activity as some companies that weren't as well positioned for a downturn or change in customers have forced them into M&As. But even then, it hasn't been that extensive. You see a lot of really small entities going out that are customer facing. Things like restaurants and personal trainers and things like that have had trouble actually, because of the restrictions, actually seeing their clients. But most of the people I work with do just as well in isolation as they do in a big office building.
Right. So what would you say in regards to, let's say, the economy in a whole? Is it difficult to tell whether it sort of balanced itself out, or would you say that there's been a significant hit? I mean,
There's been a significant hit in Massachusetts here. There's a 20% or 18% unemployment. For the new college hires, it's real hard to get a job. But if you look at the companies, there's some companies that have had the best quarters they've ever had. You look at a Walmart or FedEx or Amazon, or I was just reading about Domino's, was positioned to do wonderfully through this whole pandemic, whereas other companies have just lost all ability to raise money. So, there's some big winners and some big losers through all of this. But I think in net, um, you add the 2 trillion or $3 trillion that the government has just poured into the economy. I think the government's taken the biggest hit with that increase in national debt.
so is there anything else that you would like to reflect, that you'd like to add that reflects how the current the COVID-19 situation impacted the global reality that we're currently living in?
The IP community has done very, very well. And you always worry, okay, what's the next quarter going to be like? And is there just a lag? But so far, I'm not seeing a lag. The work's just continuing steady, and we're keeping very busy out here.
Right. And going through some of the crises in the past, 9/11 and then the 2008 financial crisis, what would you tell to some of the younger people that may be coming into the field? Like, what should they be expecting of, let's say you had 30 seconds or less?
Things change, and economies have their ups and downs. Employment has their ups and downs. You get down times, and you enjoy the time off when you have it, because at some point the work is going to be there, and it's going to be there very heavy, and you're not going to have time to enjoy life because you're so busy working, making the money. It's one of the dichotomies of life. You either have plenty of money and no time to spend it, or lots of time to spend it and you're worried about where the next dollar's coming from.
So what would you say? How do we become, like, I guess that's that balance of understanding where our priorities are and how much work to put in.
Yeah, you just, when things are busy, you try to make sure you don't work too many hours, and then you take some time with your family, and when you don't have work, enjoy it.